Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video, I'm going to be providing you with my first impressions on the North American closed beta for Maplestory 2. Yes, this is a real video. Yes, there really is a Maplestory 2. It's been out in Korea and other regions for, I think, a couple of years now, and you're probably going to be surprised at what I have to say in this video. I'll say a few things now before we get into it too much. One, I did not like Maplestory 1. I had someone try to get me to play it a few years back, probably about 6-7 years ago at this point, and I detested it. I thought it was ridiculous. I hated it. So I was coming into this with a pretty negative attitude, but I just wanted to try it for the lulz. That was the only reason I tried it. On top of that, I'm going to be doing this mostly freeform once we start talking about the game itself, so expect me to trip over my words here and there. So, TLDR, I was actually pretty happy with what I got to play with Maplestory 2 in the first day of the closed beta. It had login issues for the first 20-30 minutes. You know, I've gotten used to that over the years. Just, I'm so over when it happens that I just smile and laugh my way through that. But once I got into the game, I found a product that actually had what felt like a lot of thought and a lot of work actually put into the westernized version of it. I found that the game made a very solid transition from being a 2D side-scroller to a 3-dimensional game in this sort of blocky area. It's fun being able to destroy pretty much everything in the environment just to watch it pop up a few minutes later. The third dimension, adding certain elements to the abilities, definitely seemed a little bit more my style, I suppose. And I felt that despite the world being I guess broken up into these block-like areas, there's a decent amount of verticality to them, the ability to climb pretty much anything, mounts that make you float up into the air, mounts in general, which are pretty nice, and a story that takes you through the first 50 levels. While a cliche story, not a terribly written or terribly voice-acted story. There were moments where I laughed and moments where I went, oh man, that guy died. I never really got too attached to any of the characters in the first 25 or 26 levels of the game so far, but it's better than having no effort in it at all, so it's something I definitely appreciate. The combat itself is fairly simple. I picked a class that also has a fairly simple goal in that of I spin to win. I picked the Berserker, one of 8 classes available in the closed beta of the game. There are more classes from what I understand in the Korean version, and I'm not sure how job advancement works in Maplestory 2, if it even exists at all. All I know is in the closed beta, I spoke to an NPC about job advancement, and all he did was tell me about an NPC that I could buy armor from, and then I should level up and learn more of my skills. Overall, the combat and the skill customization was simple, but not necessarily unsatisfying. It was pretty easy to pick a build that you wanted to go for, what abilities you really wanted to use, and ultimately to just mow down as many enemies as possible, which is something that the original Maplestory was pretty popular for. It didn't really resonate with me in the 2-dimensional version of the game, but here in the 3D version, I find myself liking spin to win while just doing circles around an enemy. Something that's oddly satisfying. The areas themselves aren't anything too special. There's probably a landmark here and there that you'll be able to remember or recognize either due to frustration or just due to seeing it over and over again. But overall, I didn't find the world to be anything too unique, at least not in the first, again, 25 levels. There was an area, I think it was called Queenstown, where there were a bunch of mini games that I could participate in. That's something that stood out to me. But for the most part, what I remember a lot of the different places for is that each and every little, I guess, area has what's called exploration goals. And basically it could be something as simple as, you know, use the taxi to travel from or to this area. It could be use the binoculars to see the area, but then it could also be locate this secret house, which is, this is an actual one, locate the secret house and defeat the boss that was inside, which almost acts as a little side quest. It was nice going zone to zone and having these exploration goals, even if completely optional, at least from my experience so far, and to get things like bonus experience, maybe find a mini boss that gives me some loot, or maybe just to explore the different options, or give me a completionist satisfaction that I may not otherwise have gotten just going through the main story. Leveling pace seems to be pretty good. From what people tell me of the other versions, 1 to 50 goes real fast. After you hit level 50, you can start earning prestige points, and prestige points almost have a stamina-like system to them. What I mean by that is in Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, a game I'm very familiar with, there is a system that basically after you've earned a certain amount of experience in a given day, it would start to limit your experience gain after that. There's something like that for prestige points, but I think it's like a million EXP or something like that before that starts happening. I personally don't mind too much nowadays. It's a feature I just don't root for. It's this feature I feel like is is more for they try to say it's like for the health of the gamer, to keep people so they don't get too far ahead if they have all these hours to play. But I'm someone who's so indifferent about that. If people want to spend 16 hours a day grinding XP, they've earned the right to be ahead of me if that's how they choose to spend their spare time. So that was one thing that I didn't like, but I also haven't gotten to experience grinding prestige XP in the first place, so I guess I don't really know the rate of acquisition, so I can't judge it all too well. So far, the dungeons and the other basic content in the game, including world bosses, hasn't been anything too crazy in terms of difficulty. When there's a ton of people on the screen for something like a world boss, which I'll show on the screen right now, yeah, the frames can drop down. It can definitely get really laggy, hard to make accurate movements or put your commands in correctly. It's a lot of fun and it's pretty chaotic, and there's also some interesting things you can do, especially when bosses are out in the open world, in order to avoid certain attacks. Overall, it was fun. We hopped channel to channel killing world bosses, and I had to hop channel to channel to do a few exploration goals, so overall, pretty good. I suppose ultimately for what I'm getting out of this is, like I said, I went into this with very negative expectations. I was memeing. Like, I'll be straight up. I had no positive expectations for what I was about to experience at all. And then I guess as we started playing it and as I was streaming it, people started just seeing certain merits to it. Obviously, there's a big question of pay-to-win status. Maplestory 1 had a lot of microtransactions, and I don't think anyone will be surprised if this one ends up having it. I'm sure I could go check the Korean version and find out right now. But overall, at the very least, there's a product there. It doesn't feel like it's a product simply designed for me to, I guess, not really even have fun no matter what. The fact that I could have fun in Maplestory 2 says a lot, because it's normally I would not ever remotely let these words leave my mouth, but I got to be honest about it. Now, again, how does the future of the game stand? How does the cash shop end up paying out? Because we know it's going to be free to play with cash shop. Like, that's going to be the business model. That's the way it is in the other regions. I'd be really surprised to see them charge, I guess, an upfront fee like buy to play, like Black Desert does or something like that. But I don't know. I guess these are just first impressions. They're not long-term impressions. So it's worth. If you want to sign up for the closed beta, if you were a fan of the original and are interested to see the transition from 2D to 3D, which again, they did very well. Way better than Ragnarok Online, I'll say that. Although Ragnarok was isometric into full 3D. It just didn't do nearly as well as this did from, I guess, the art style transitions overall. But yeah, I'll include a link. I think there should still be closed beta signups, because I know they're going to do a week of closed beta, and then they're going to take feedback, and then they're going to incorporate it, and then they're going to, I think, do another beta sometime later on. So if I can find something, if not, I'll just put the website in the description or something like that. But check it out if you're looking for something to kill time before 4. Well, it won't be before 4.3, because unless you get in the closed beta now, you ain't getting in. Maybe sometime after 4.3, like between 4.3 and 4.4, speaking to my Final Fantasy 14 community here on YouTube. Could be interesting to check out, especially if you were a fan of the OG. But that's going to be a wrap for my first impressions video of Maplestory 2. I could probably go on a little bit longer, but we'll keep this to a sub 10-minute video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And if I have more I want to say about Maplestory 2, I'll throw another video or two up here on YouTube. Still working on some Dauntless stuff, waiting on open beta for that. Final Fantasy 14 has a live letter and a patch coming up. Plus, there's some videos I'm behind on, WoW to 14. I also want to do maybe a Monster Hunter World to Dauntless series, where it's not really versus, it's more about, I suppose, comparing the two and what they do differently, and not so much about declaring one as better than the other. But we'll see. I've got a ton of video ideas and not enough time to execute on all of them. And motorcycles, apparently. But I will see all of you in the next video. Thank you for watching this one, and until then, take care.